Fighting has intensified on the flat range as more operators have moved to shoot their clone rivals as opposed
Bravo
to...
6, this is Warpig. Multiple Alcard 40 fighters are swarming us. Where the hell are you guys? Bravo 6, coming inbound.
Alpha Company's tank is stuck half a click north of here. We gotta hustle. Let's go!
What's the situation, Warpig?
Bravo 6, possible ambush area up front. We'll, move up when you've cleared the area ahead of us. Over.
Copy that. We're gonna move up on the right. Come on! Warpig, Bravo 6! We're pinned down by multiple Alcard 40 fighters! You got eyes on them?
You got it! Gunner! Busted 12 o'clock! Target acquired! Fire! Fire!
Thanks for the assist, Warpig. Bravo 6 out!
Gentlemen, welcome back to the agency. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to help Warpig get out of the bog. Today, we're talking about this little M4 SOT mod from B-King's Firearms. Now, if you didn't watch the M16A2 carbine video, you might not know who BKF is. So essentially, B-King's Firearms, that's not his name, his real name is Blake, but he liked the old video and he was like, hey, what else do you want? I had to send that gun back and he was like, I'll send you something else. High off of a little bit of nostalgia for Call of Duty 4 and the GWAT period, I was like, you know what? I want the M4 SOT mod. So he was like, bet. Although Mr. King sent out this rifle, I don't get to keep it. It's the same as the last video. I just get to demonstrate it and then I have to send it back. Now, this time he did provide me some ammunition, some 55 grain Lake City 5.56 to test the rifle out. And so far I've had no issues with it. So pretty cool, but this is where you call me a shill. This is where you jump down in the comments and say that I was paid for the review, but I wasn't, but that's what you guys are gonna think. I decided to do a little bit of Call of Dutyization to it. So I configured this gun in 4 different builds from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare and shot it a bunch of times with each individual loadout. So we're gonna jump into each individual loadout and talk about each one, what I like, what I didn't like. Some of them are meme builds, some of them are legitimate. Of course, this is gonna be my favorite one out of all of them. Spoiler alert. So we'll talk through those setups. So before you unlock any attachments in Call of Duty 4, in the multiplayer that is, you have to use the base M4. So the base M4 in the game is a 16 inches because they modeled it after a Colt AR-15A3, but it's really, you know, it's an M4. In the remaster, it's a 14.5 and it comes with the Knight's Armament rail and the foregrip by default. So I'm not going to count those, the quad rail nor the grip, as attachments. We're just going to talk about what the attachments would be, not counting that. By default, it comes with the carry handle iron sights, which is, some guys don't like them because it's detachable, but I still like them and I think they're nostalgic. So that's what you start off with. So that's what we're gonna start off with. Now, shooting it in this configuration is fun. You know, it feels right at home. It's an A2 detachable carry handle. I mean, you guys know what that's all about. I don't have to explain the detachable carry handle. People understand it, they love it, and you know, I like it too. Now, I think that having these iron sights are better than some of the other optics that I'm gonna showcase here in a little bit. So I would rather either have this EOTech or the carry handle sights as like a serious sighting system. But the gun's fine and it's lightweight, even with the quad rail and everything. It's light, it's fun to shoot, and I still like irons. I'm a little bit of I have a Gen Xer inside of me trying to get out who likes iron sights and likes to shoot just bare bones sometimes. So I had a lot of fun shooting it in this configuration. So I was watching a video from, I forget the guy's name, I'll put it in post, but his channel is called Modern Tactical Shooting, and he has done a series of videos about the real life SOT mod, and he mentioned that some guys actually used the carry handle, the detachable carry handle, as their main sighting system while they still had access to red dots, just because they were so used to using iron sights that they were more proficient with it. And these guys were, you know, in the early days of the war in Afghanistan, they were using these iron sights. So that's pretty cool. Let's get to what people really want to see, and that's the attachments. So in the multiplayer, after you get 25 kills, you unlock the iconic red dot sight, Reflex sight. What is this sight? Many of you may not know what it is. I didn't either. I watched a Hot video where he really went into depth and he explained what the actual red dot sight is based off of, and that is the Ultra Point Pan AV. He talks about that optic a little bit. The original one's actually made in Japan, and it's much higher quality than a lot of the ones you'll find on Amazon or even like the Sightmark Sure Shot. They're not as good as the Pan AV. As funny as that sounds, right? The Pan AV isn't a great optic on its own, but it is the best of all these other ones. And this is a red dot sight that has been cloned and stolen and put in video games, especially, you know, in the early 2000s, even in the 2010s, you saw this optic a lot, and you'll still see it in games today. A lot of people will actually buy this as their first optic because it's in video games, and they think that it's, you know, like the best or whatever, and it's not, right? It probably will shatter. I'm not gonna shatter the one that I have because Hammy gave it to me. We'll talk about Hammy in a little bit. But Hammy gave it to me he bought it for the same reason. He bought it because of Call of Duty 4. He puts it on his MP5. It's a kind of a meme optic. Actually pretty fun. Just looking through the optic, I can see why people, just looking through the optic, it actually has a really good like field of view for what it is, and as soon as you look through it, you just get that feeling like you're playing a game. It's actually a little bit smaller in real life than I thought it was. But, you know, I'm not gonna recommend, even if this thing, you know, performed extremely well, I'm never gonna recommend putting an Amazon optic as your primary sighting system. It's just a fun little meme, pretty much. That's not that serious, shouldn't be taken too seriously. But it is a cool little way to pay homage to the old Call of Duty 4. Now, the one I'm using is not a Sightmark nor an Ultra Dot Pan AV. It is a $30 knockoff. So it's like they knock each other off. It's like, all right, one company clones the original, and then another company clones the reproduction, and then it just keeps going down and down and down until you get something that's so far from the original. Now, I don't have an actual Ultra Dot Pan AV to compare, but that's kind of what I'm imagining they're doing over there in China. So let's jump over to the campaign now. Another iconic configuration, and my personal favorite that I've done so far, is going to be the configuration I have here before you, and that's going to be with the EOTech 512, the PEC 2A, and the M203. This is probably the most realistic, probably closest to the real life M4 SOT mod, because they weren't using the Ultra Dot Pan AV or the Tasco, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. This is actually one of my favorite loadouts in the game, and it's exclusive to the single player. It's only in a couple of missions, the Bog and in War Pig, when you're playing as the Marines and you're helping the tank out. That's where you get this loadout. And I remember in the game, you like zoom in really close to the optic when you're looking through the holographic sight. Now, this EOTech 512 is not mine, at least not yet. So the EOTech, as well as the Chinese knockoff red dot, were provided by Hammy 3D Prints, which is the sponsor of this video. Now, he sponsored it by loaning me these optics. He's like, he said, hey, for an ad read, what would you like? And I said, EOTech 512, Chinese red dot. Actually, he offered a Chinese red dot, but that was kind of the terms of the shout out. So if you don't know Hammy, he makes light covers, kill flashes, mounting solutions for guns, magazines, all kinds of accessories. No firearms, he doesn't make firearms, so for YouTube. He makes mounts for pretty much any kind of system you have, whether that's Gallotech, pegboard, slat wall, grid wall. There's a few others that he makes as well. So if you want to give yourself a dedicated kind of, I don't know, John Wick armory room, that you can go over to check out Hammy and go buy some stuff. Now that is a pretty unique thing to his company. Not a lot of people provide those mounting solutions and whatnot. He also makes a Car 15 cheek riser. Now it wouldn't make a lot of sense for this build because, you know, the optic is at a absolute co-witness, but if you have a carry handle in that you want to get that, you want to raise your cheeks a little bit, he makes one of those as well at a very affordable price. So go check out Hammy, and again, thank you for loaning me out these optics. So let's get back to the build. So compared to the other ones, this is going to be my favorite, right? I love looking through that EOTech. I think it looks the best. This is actually an airsoft grenade launcher that was provided by Uncompliant. I gotta wear like a shirt with all my sponsors. He doesn't sponsor the channel, but he just reached out to me, and I started talking to him, and he was like, hey, you want the M203 for, I told him what I was doing. He was like, you want the M203? And I was like, dude, sure. And he makes some funny content, so go check out his stuff as well and say thank you. Go to his latest video and go comment. Thanks for the M203, brother. But he's pretty cool, and he was very kind to send this out. I'm sure he'll be really sad when I steal it, but you know, what can you do? And of course, on the side here, we've got the PEC 2A. This is a SOMO gear. I don't actually have night vision, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to buy an IR-only PEC. So I bought a visible, and I mean, it's pretty powerful. I'm kind of scared of it, if I'm honest, but I'll kind of show. I'm not gonna point it. The thing's like more dangerous than the gun. I feel like if I point out my lens, it'll like blow it up. But that's what you're getting with the old PEC. This is my first. Actually, I still have never had a PEC. So I was gonna say this is my first PEC, but it's fake anyway. So I've still never had one. But it's cool, I guess. It feels kind of plasticky. I don't know if the real ones feel like that, but it's pretty plasticky, and it's for airsoft. It has the look, and it was only about 60, 70 bucks, which is better than like the 200 I think it is for the IR one. I would just not even know if it works because I can't see, unless that has. Maybe you can see visible with that too. I don't know. I'm kind of a noob when it comes. I'm kind of like. I don't know anything about that, so you guys can sound off below and tell me. I didn't have any grenades to shoot in the M203, but it would have been a lot cooler if I did. Now, the EOTech is a lot of fun. I have an EXPS3. I've never shot through a 512. This is going to be the absolute co-witness one that you got to screw in. The one I have just has a throw lever. It comes with the mount already, and this one does not. The only thing different about this is going to be the front sight post in the game is completely cut off. It doesn't even exist in the original, and then in the remaster, it's a low profile. This not being my gun, I can't go and chop this off or replace it with a different kind of gas block. So I like it more so with the front sight base anyway. That's how it should be, and they, for whatever reason, they just hate having it. They think that they treat their players like babies, that they're not gonna be able to see through their optic if there's a, this thing in the middle here of your window. So I think it's really cool, and I actually prefer the games that do it. It's pretty cool, and it's better than Battlefield 2042, where it has the front sight post with the EOTech, but as soon as you look through it, it vanishes. So truly tragic. Now the EOTech 512 is running circles around the Ultra Dot Pan AV and the Tasco, that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. The only thing else it's comparable to as far as like a real sighting system is going to be that carry handle, but the EOTech is just better, obviously. Now one build I'm missing is going to be what's called the M4A1 SOP mod. That comes with the Ultra Dot Pan AV up top with an M203 PEC and what I believe is a Knight's Armament suppressor. I don't have a suppressor, so we can't do that for now, but maybe in the future, we'll do an M4A1 SOP mod from Call of Duty 4 video, and we'll have the Knight's Armament suppressor. We'll see. Now the final loadout we'll take a look at is the gun from Charlie Don't Surf and Game Over. And this is another exclusive to the campaign, as you can't get this red dot in multiplayer, and that's gonna be the Tasco Pro Point. Now we're swapping out the M203 for a Knight's Armament foregrip and retaining that PEC 2A as well. Now this red dot is also featured on the G36 in FNG and a few other missions as well. The Tasco red dot is a $40 red dot from Amazon. Again, cheap Chinese crap. It's fine, it's just a little bit low. I've noticed that. I kind of need a riser to be able to shoot it comfortably. It's not absolute, it's like lower than absolute, so it's like flexible witness, flexible co-witness. Just because you can't, but it sits beneath the front sight post, so that kind of sucks. You just have to imagine, shoot both eyes open and you can kind of see it, but kind of sucks. Now they say it's a 5 MOA dot, but it looks a little bit bigger than that to me, but I don't know, maybe they gave me the wrong one or maybe they gave me the right one, I'm not sure. But this is a meme build. Again, I would not recommend going out and buying a Tasco unless it was to clone for this game, but don't put a Tasco on like your home defense SHTF rifle. You're just asking for trouble. I mean, as far as like long-term usage, even if the thing, like I said, held 0 and was perfect, I'm still not gonna recommend it just because I'm never gonna be that comfortable with recommending a sub 200, 150, sub 100. What's the Sig Romeo 5, like 120, 130 bucks? I wouldn't really recommend anything lower than that, and even the Sig Romeo is kind of iffy. Though I do hear some good things, so who knows. So the Tasco's kind of dumb, but it's also kind of neat. So how did the rifle perform? Well, today I put about 11 magazines through it, and it ran flawlessly. The only malfunction I ever had was a failure to feed, and that was not the gun's fault. That was the fault of a Brownell's 25 round magazine. Those things are pretty notorious. The straight magazine, those things are pretty notorious for having issues. It's like a $60 magazine too. It's steel actually, but that was the only time I had a malfunction. I was using mostly like Colt and OK Industry mags, a few Brownells here and there, the ones you'll see in the shooting footage, with green followers and the anti-tilt ones, and I had no issues with the gun at all. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. It went bang every time I pulled the trigger. I love when people say that. I'd be like, oh, your PSA is cheap, and they go, well, it goes bang every time I pull the trigger. So it's not a complete review over long-term usage and how the gun is going to perform. Is it going to survive to those 5, 6, 7,000 rounds, 20,000 rounds? Like, what's the point of where the barrel gets shot out and when you start to have issues or your bolt breaks or whatever the case is? This is not going to be that kind of review. I won't be able to talk in depth to that. But so far, putting 11 mags or so through it already, I'm pretty happy with the performance. This is the second gun I've shot from him. It's well built. There was a minor QC issue in the previous video that was not present in this one at all. He updated his checklist to reflect if you can go watch my other video, you can talk about that, but he has directly addressed that and updated his checklist and everything just for that rear sight. So really happy to see that kind of stuff. It's very good to praise gun companies. People are real quick to judge on a company and say, hey, you screwed up, whatever. It's really positive because you like to see gun companies that make improvements based on feedback and that onboard new stuff or whatever the case is, and they continue to provide a good product to their customers, and that's something I really appreciate. So I really like this. I really enjoyed shooting this gun. It is a lot of fun. I really like the M4A1, and in a lot of ways the M4 is kind of my nostalgic gun, because obviously, right, the M16A1, Car 15, we've shot those on the channel. They're great, and they are nostalgic, but it feels almost as if it's someone else's nostalgia and not my own personal one, because the A1 and the Car 15 weren't really big when I was younger. Maybe the Car 15, you know, maybe like a 727 or something, you know, because I was born in 98, so maybe it was kind of still in that early 2000s, late 90s kind of period, but when I was conscious and consuming media, video games, movies, the content that was being produced at the time included the M4. So I have a lot of, like I said, personal nostalgia for it. Now, the A1 is great and everything like that, but that wasn't the gun that was big when I was coming up. When I was playing Call of Duty 4, I was 9 or 10 years old, you know, and Mr. King was out actually in Iraq for real, fighting the, looking for al-Assad in the broadcast station. So, you know, but I looked up to, you know, my cousin went to Iraq and stuff, and I kind of looked up to that generation of, I was high on government propaganda, so I looked up and I was like, I love the Army, I love the Marines. And I looked up to the, you know, they all had M4, so I was like, okay, that was like the cool gun when I was coming up, and it's still in use today. So that is kind of why I think that I have almost a more personal connection to this than some of the other guns I've shot. It's just a vibe, and I really enjoy the M4, and I want to, if not this one, you know, I want to someday add an M4 to my arsenal, and then a real M203 and a real PEC. Because this one, we'll talk about it real quick. When I was testing it out, it was it would turn off every time I fired around, and then would turn back on. I don't know if that's normal, but that's what it was doing. So, you know, hey, it's China, what can I say? Something that comes up often, and something I've asked myself, is the M4 retro? Now, if you go on to the retro AR subreddit, people will get very upset if you ever post a non-fixed carry handle upper, and you post an M4 and they'll say, this isn't retro, I carried an M4. Those people are getting up there now. They're in their 40s. Maybe the youngest ones are in their late 30s. This guy's probably in their 50s that served in the GWAT. I hate to break it to you guys, but the M4 I think is becoming retro. Stuff like this, you know, you watch some of these other channels that typically review M-Lock, free-floating, whatever kind of guns, you know, modern ARs and all that. And then they get a gun like this on their channel and they go, man, it's just so old school, it's so retro, it's this and that. So unfortunately, I think we're getting to that point. It hurts me because, like I said, I grew up with this gun, but now we're entering UNC status at this point. So it cuts me deep. I'm sure B. King, you know, not retro to him, but it is now. You know, someone brought up, his name is Muke, and he brought up a good point. I'm gonna butcher the exact quote, but he said something to the effect of, you know, some of these old gaming consoles that came out in the early 2000s are considered retro now. Sometimes some of them are worth money. And that's a very valid point. If a gaming console from the early 2000s is considered retro now, then why isn't the M4? Now, AR-15's been around for way longer. You know, Nintendo wasn't around in the 60s, so, you know, maybe, is it proportional, whatever? I don't know, we'll have to figure that out. But it's sad to see the M4 enter that retro status, but you know, not much you can do. Time just keeps moving without us, and it's getting even faster for some reason. So those are my thoughts on the M4. Is it retro? I think it is now. Now, if you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a tip. No, I'm just kidding. You can go check out my website. You can go follow me on Instagram. You can go watch another video. That's the way that helps me out the most. If you are really kind-hearted, you just have such a big heart, you can go to my Patreon, you can pledge, hand over the heart, you can pledge your support. You can join the Discord, jump in there, and I have a great team of guys. I'm gonna put their name, this is a reminder to myself, I'm gonna scroll their name at the end of this video. But love my Patreon guys, and you can go check out some merch. Sell a whole bunch of different shirts, and you can go check out Hammy as well. This is where I'm asking you to whip out your wallet and start spending money. Go check out Hammy, and if you want to use code Espo, you can buy some stuff from him. He makes a lot of cool stuff, so go find yourself something nice. Buy yourself an Agent Espo shirt, and then go buy that Car 15 Chic Riser. But you don't have to, you can just like and subscribe this video, watch another video. I ain't telling you what to do with your money.